Hello, today I thought we'd have a little go at doing an elephant with some Brusho. I might add some watercolour as well, we'll see how we get on. It's actually the first time I've drawn an elephant. So what I did was, yesterday I did it in pencil first just to see I was getting it right, and then I've drawn using the PITT artist pen, the ones that I reviewed last week. If you haven't seen the review for those pens, I'll pop the link up here. But it was just the fine one that I used, so I did the whole thing using a fine pen. So really when you're drawing animals, the best way to go is to measure things against each other. So when you're looking at the animal, measure perhaps, you know, the width of his head compared to the width of his ear, compared to there, you know, you've got three similar measurements there. Measure the length of his head perhaps compared to the length of his legs, and all these kind of things to make sure that you're getting the measurements correct, but also line things up against each other. Have a look and see, you know, maybe his eye lines up with his foot there and things like this, and where his knees and things line up in comparison to his hips, and all these kind of things. Just keep looking back at your reference photograph, whatever you're working from, unless you're working from life, measuring things against each other. The thing I found most difficult with drawing the elephant was I'm used to drawing things like horses and cows where their skeleton and the muscles are very apparent. With a horse you can see where all the muscles are and it's quite easy to draw them then. I found it quite difficult with this chap, knowing where things like his knee joints were and his ankles and things, but actually if you look very closely you can tell because of the way his skin sort of falls around them. So get the direction of some of these lines of his skin going in the right direction. That's just going to give you a feel for where he is underneath and where he's moving to and things like that. So look very carefully at him. So I've just decided to do him in Brusho, and I'm going to actually wet him all first. So this is a water-fast pen, so it's not going to bother the pen going over the top of him with some water. So I'm going to first of all wet the whole thing, and I'll probably speed the video up at this point. Okay, so it's all wet now. You might have noticed I've picked up a little bit of colour. That was actually on the side of my water pot, and it's some of the grey Brusho. This is why with Brushos we need to be very careful when we're working, because it's very easy to get one little grain of Brusho to cover your, you know, to add colour to your paper. In this case it doesn't matter because we're going to be painting in grey anyway, but with something else it might have been a nuisance if you introduced another colour. So just be careful with Brusho. Keep a tidy desk if you can, not like me. So this is the grey Brusho, and I've mixed it with water, and I'm just going to cover him really. It's a nice elephanty type colour. It's quite difficult to see their eyes. They've not really got a lot of definition in their eyes. With most animals you get quite a character by getting their eyes right, and it's very difficult with the elephant because his eyes, you know, you can't really see as such. So because we've drawn him in ink, we've already got the basic shapes, and we've already got some of the shading, some of the lights and darks, and some of the direction of his skin like I was saying before. So actually we're just filling him in really now with this grey. And we can't actually see his feet, they're right in the grass, so I've not drawn those in properly. I'll perhaps put some grass in there later. So when we're drawing his tummy and his back and everything and his hip there, we should really move our brush in the shape of his tummy. Help get that feel of that, the way everything's going. Looking at his back end, it's really sort of sloped down and saggy skinned. Just a little bit of a hard line there. Can you see how it blended quite nicely on these feet here, but here it's ended up quite hard, I think because the paper's drying out a bit there. So I've just got a touch of water and just soften that edge off there a bit. Okay, so alright, already is looking okay. But I'd like to introduce a bit more light and shade to him. So I'm going to make a darker mix now of the grey. Just with a little bit of water and plenty of the grey Brusho. And it's quite a lilac-y grey really, so it's quite nice. It makes him a bit more interesting colours. You can see some of the blues separating there as well. And under here is more. So I'm just looking where he's darkest. Obviously because of the size of him and his weight, and if the sun's coming up from above, we're not going to get any sun under his tummy here. So just keep looking at the picture and seeing where the darkest darks are, where the most shadows are. And help use that to define some of his shapes of his body as well. And again, if you have bits that are drying out, can you see here we've got quite a sharp line there along his trunk where I've put that on. You can just soften that off with a bit of water. And then just with a damp brush, I'm just going to move some of this paint around whilst it's still wet. So there, move it in the shape of his trunk. Imagine that you're painting around his trunk. So move your hand in the direction of the way things are going. Here, that ear is in shadow there from his own head. I'll just try and lift that bit off where my hand slipped there. So there's no paint on this brush, just a nice damp brush whilst it's all wet, just moving things around and shaping things a little bit. And obviously the thing with using Brusho instead of watercolour is we've got the unpredictability of the colours, and some of these are separating. I'm hoping the camera will pick this up, but we've got some lovely separations here. We've got some browns and some mauves coming out of that grey, because it's giving us those colours that, you know, we could imagine that this elephant is really. They've sort of got lots of browns and different shades of greys in them. So again here, going in the shape of his big tummy. And again, some more of the brown coming out there. So we've got some lovely tones going on. Okay, so, and I'm just going to, with some yellow, this might sound a strange colour, but I'm just going to add some of the, it's the lemon one, I'll just show you that, the lemon Brusho. Where the sun's hitting him, I'm just going to pop a little bit of the lemon on, and you'll see when I put it on that it sort of pushes the grey out of the way, so you can put some sort of nice little bits of highlights on him with this yellow. And again, I'll put it where I think the highlights are, where it's the sun's hitting him the most, and then I'll move it around. Okay, so I'll call him finished like that. You can see actually where there's one or two places where they've just got a spot of the lemon Brusho and it's pushing out the other pigments, but I'm not going to try and correct that, because if I start fiddling with it, I'll make it a mess. So we're just going to leave that as it is, and it just adds some texture, it adds some interest. And like I said, I've got all those colours separating. So I'm just wondering now really what to do with the background, whether I do a completely different colour to contrast him, or whether I leave him like that without much background. I'm thinking actually we're just going to put a touch of green at the bottom and then leave it. So I will get, let me think, I think we'll try the moss green. Okay, so that's the moss, but this time I'm not going to paint it on. I'm going to put some water where the grass is, around his feet. I'm hoping you can see this. Perhaps I should move it up a touch. And I'll just flick a bit of it up as well, as if it's we've got some paint with the water. Paint some grass shapes. Leave a bit of paper dry as well, so that we've got a bit of variety going on. Some horizontals, some verticals. And then just very carefully, whilst it's still very wet, we'll just drop a little bit of that Brusho into it. And the moss one's quite a subtle one. Those blue colours that are there, I think have some that have been picked up from the grey. Can you see these blues here? I think they've come out of the grey that we used for the elephant. I don't think they've come out of this moss. Okay, and I think that's enough for the grass. I think we should just leave the focus on him. So I'm going to call that a day at that. So you can see just with those two colours for the elephant, we just used grey and lemon, how many different colours and tones you can achieve. So by using the pen first to do the drawing, you've got that nice framework to work to, and you can just have fun applying the colour. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed that. Let me know what you think as usual in the comments below. And again, if there's anything particular that you would like me to demonstrate for you, pop that in the comments below as well. But thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.